Good morning. I'm making this video to share how I passed two bar exams, one in Georgia and one in New York, in the same year, both tests on the first try, and right after finishing the law school. And I got a pretty decent score on both of them. Here is the information for Georgia, here is my name, here is the overall score, and the MBE, you can see. And for New York, once again my name and the total score and the MBE. Now in Georgia I had a score just over 300 and I had 298 in New York. Both are sufficient, not great, not the best in the world, but they're good enough to pass the bar. And I had 145 on my MBE in Georgia, and it improved to 150.9 in New York. I don't know what 0.9 means, but it probably doesn't matter. So I want to share with you what I did to accomplish that. And just to give you some background, I did my law school part-time while working full-time. I was not the best student, I was not the worst. I was a little above average. And I was very nervous and scared about taking the bar exam because my biggest weakness is remembering things, bringing them back from the memory, and putting them on paper. It's been my struggle throughout law school years. It's something I've been working on, but it still worries and scares me to this day. So I did three things in order to pass the exams. Well, number one, I took a bar prep course for the Georgia exam only, and I did basically 100% of that, of the Caitlin course, including 100% of what was offered to me for the last week of the exam of the bar prep course. And I used some other tools to help me prepare. That's the second thing. I'll go over those tools shortly. And I strategized where should my preparation have the most impact. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to start with the strategy session I had early on in my bar exam preparation. I took out a piece of paper like this and I wrote out all the components of the bar exam. It has 400 max, and for Georgia I need 270. For New York I need a little less, I need 266. And where does this 400 come from? Half of it is from MBE, 30% is from the essays. In Georgia you have 4 essays, in New York you have 6 obviously. And 20% comes from MPT. Those are the three different elements that require very different preparation and test very different skills. Now, my biggest strength is the MBEs, of course. It's a multiple choice exam. I've taken many of those throughout my professional life, probably over 30, maybe closer to 50. I passed most of them. I'm very, very good at reading, understanding, choosing the right option. And therefore I knew this was my biggest strength. My biggest weakness is the essays, of course, because of memorizing the law and writing it out. And the MPTs are somewhere in the middle. What's great about them is there is no law to be memorized, it's all given to you. What's bad is that they still need to be written and there isn't enough time to write them out. However, they can be practiced, and there is a number of shortcuts that can be taken to optimize the MPT experience. So I took a practice MBE exam as a part of Kaplan course early on. I got, I think, something around 130 on it, so that was my base number. For essays, I've assigned myself a base number of 60, which represented 50% success. For MPTs, I've assigned myself another 60, which was 75% grade for that as my base, something that I start with. So if I thought that if I was to take the bar exam tomorrow, I would get about those scores. Those add up to 250, so that's not enough. I needed to get some more points somewhere else, right? Now, I did the strategy session in December before the bar prep course. So I knew I was going to pick up some points in the MB just because naturally I was going to improve. I knew that the biggest impact would be in the essays because this is my big weakness. I was giving myself 50%, but I felt that all the work that I put in preparing for essays would be dramatically more impactful because I was giving myself such a low initial score. So if you're going from a low score, you can get yourself up by quite a few points. Going from, let's say, 135 to 145 on MB is not easy. Going from 145 to 150, as I did, is even more difficult. So I thought I would not, so because of that, I thought I would not concentrate heavily on MB. I will still study for it, but I would not concentrate heavily. And I didn't. I took the practice exams, I reviewed questions and answers, reviewed my mistakes, but I did not go as much as depth as I could have. And another part is MPTs, where I thought I could pick up a few more points by just doing more practice. Because MPTs are subject to a specific formula, how you put together the document, how you articulate your thoughts, how you follow the IRAC structure, which is something I did. And so I thought I could pick up a few points there. I could start reasonably well at 75%, and I could pick a few more points, and that could be a bonus. But the major area of impact for me would be right here in the essays. So what I did is I took out a piece of paper and I wrote down the essays scores, and I assigned myself some scores to them. In Georgia, you have 4 essays, so maximum you can get is 30 points per essay. And the numbers are not exactly accurate, but at least it gives me something to aim for. And I thought I would do really well on one essay, and really well, I assigned myself 20 points. I'll do average on 2 other essays, I assigned myself 15 points, and then one of them I'll do badly on, I'll only get 10 points. That's my base, that's 60 points, that's not enough. I needed to get at least 10 more points in this section. How I can get more points? Well, the terrible essay, I'm not going to improve. The presumption is if I get an essay that I know nothing about, I would probably only get the very minimum number of points from that essay. So, in one essay, I'm going to just get an average answer just because I'm going to know some material, but I'll probably screw something up. So this leaves the other 2 essays, right? If I improve my good essay, the essay where I know the material very well, by 5 more points, by structuring the answer, by making sure that I articulate my thought well, I can get a few more points there. And then if I take one of my average essays and I can improve it to the point of being good, that's a few more points there. So this shows 2 immediate areas of improvement. Number 1 is getting the structure of the answer so good that there are no points taken down for the answer not looking as good as it could be. And that means following the IRAC structure, articulating the issue, what the issue is, then articulating the rule of law, applying the rule of law following this structure exactly because of this and this fact. This is how the rule applies, and this is the conclusion. And then starting with the conclusion. Now, in the school I learned CREAC, then I've read about improved issue statements. I didn't want to do that because to me there was not enough time to spend on those fancy things. So I practiced basic IRAC, I stuck with it for both bar exams, and that's what got me through. Things might be different for you, but this is what worked for me. So this is how I could get my good essay a little better, right? And how can I get my average essay to be good is by learning the law, obviously. In Georgia, there are law subjects that are on the essay part, but are not on the MBEs, of course. And there are Georgia unique parts, such as family law and wills, trusts, and estates, very state heavy. Even contracts and torts in Georgia have some unique features. So I thought that by studying those specifically and taking more focus to study those rather than focusing on MBE subjects, I would do better. And that's exactly what happened. I feel, based on my exam results, that I did very well in the essays. I did that by following the structure very precisely. I literally, one of the essay subjects was something that I was reviewing the night before the bar exam, and other subjects were at least somewhat familiar to me. One of the essays was awful, but I thought I could squeeze some points out of it because parts of it were familiar. So how does this translate into practice? Well, I did, obviously I did Kaplan, but that's beside the point. Everybody know. Okay, Kaplan was very good. I thought Kaplan was a very good program. I particularly liked two aspects of it. One, that there were long lectures that cover a specific subject, so I can sit, I can concentrate, I can learn it, and I can make my notes. I hate having to watch several short videos. I'd rather watch one long lecture and structure my learning based on that. So Kaplan did great with that. And they had live instructor, not live in class, but live over video instructor-led classes, which allowed for questions. So that was nice to be able to send some questions to the instructor and have them answered. So Kaplan was great, but I modified it. I did 100% of it, but I modified it in terms of schedule. I did not always do things when they told me to do things, right? I did not want to, on some days I didn't want to work as hard as they tell you to, so I took some breaks. On some days I watched video after video and made some notes. On other days I did MBE after MBE, took some notes from there, and on others I wrote several practice exams. Now, I wrote a lot of practice exams, more than what Kaplan tells me to do, and I submitted them all for grading, and I got the feedback. I saw my scores gradually improving, so I knew I was doing something right. That was very helpful. I used 3 other tools that were very helpful in my bar prep. First, I got me a flashcard application called Brainscape. It's available on the smartphone, and I paid for a subscription, for a 6-month subscription. It was something like $20. And there are three reasons I chose this app. Number one is it has a ton of pre-made decks that are available with the subscription. There are MBE decks for different subjects, and constitutional law, for example, was my huge weakness, so I knew I had to work on that. And it also has some user-made decks that covered subjects like Georgia law. I don't have this in my app anymore, but they cover things like Georgia law and some UBE subjects. And that was very, very helpful. Second feature is that the use-spaced repetition. The use-spaced repetition for those decks that automatically lets you see the cards that you mark that you didn't know more often, and the cards that you mark as you know well, you will see those less often. So it helps to repeat cards that you need improvement on, and skips the cards that you already know. And third part is it can be synced, your progress and your decks can be synced between the laptop and the cell phone. So if I want to practice on the cell phone, I do this here. If I want to practice on my computer, I do that there. So for me, that was very, very helpful and good value for the relatively little money. Second I used was a set of video lectures called BarMD, particularly MPT workshops, but they also have a structure for essay exams. And after watching those videos and making some notes, I realized that I could do a lot better with MPTs than I thought I could if I would just follow the structure. So what I did is, after watching those MPT workshops videos, I wrote down the specific steps that need to be taken for each MPT structure, right? How you structure a letter, how you structure a memorandum. And I started practicing all my MPTs. I did probably 10 of those, following the exact format as BarMD tells me to. These videos are free on YouTube. I highly recommend you go there because it gives you a structure of the entire document, how it should come up to. It gives you structure for every session, how to make paragraphs, and how to follow the IRAC formula. Once again, it follows something very close to an IRAC formula. And in the end, I got to the point where I would be preparing the document, setting out the document while still reading the file library. That saved me a lot of time. And the third tool is I found the book by Jessica Klein. I'm not going to say the name of the book. However, I will put the link to this book in the video description, and you'll know why I'm not going to say it. However, this book was also tremendously helpful by giving me a great tool to get my essays a lot better. And the fundamental principle of her book, of her approach, is rewriting. So in her method, she says get model essays from past bar exam administrations and start just retyping them yourself. Then start rewriting them from an essay prompt and comparing them to what happened. And that's basically what I did. I followed her advice. I found, especially on the subjects that were weaker in my mind, that I needed to study more. Because even by actively retyping an essay answer, copying it in my own typing, I achieved number one, a good active review of the material, right? Number two, I got a pretty good idea of what the graders were looking for, and basic IRAC worked every time. And number three, it got me a lot of practice. I did it all on timer, I did it all on the same computer, so that was very helpful. And generally, I started right away. I started doing everything with a timer. So at first, um, I started the timer, but I kept going with my MPTs and my essay answers until I was done. And then I saw how much of an overrun I had. For MPTs, I overran my first MPT by about 15 minutes. With essays, I overran them by maybe 10 minutes. And that gave me a benchmark uh, of where I'm starting. Second, I started to time myself and stop when the timer was over. And that started to get me disciplined to actually finish on time. And third, I started to time myself in segments, leaving myself extra 5 minutes at the end of the segment. For example, MPTs, you have 3 hours to do 2 MPTs. That means you get uh, hour and a half for each. So I timed myself in three 25-minute segments. 25, 25, 25. That means it leaves me 15 minutes leeway, and you can do a whole lot in 15 minutes to make changes and fix the essays, review them. So I got used to that format. 25, 25, 25 with 15 minutes left over for modifications. For the essay exams, it's once again it's 4 questions over 3 hours. That means you get 45 minutes per. So likewise, I timed myself as 20 plus 20 with 5 minutes left over for each answer. And once again, in 5 minutes, you can do a whole lot. You can finish a thought, you can edit out any mistakes. So, to quickly summarize what I did well and what would I do differently. For the Georgia bar prep, what I did well was following Kaplan, having a lot of practice in writing and rewriting, following the formula for MPTs, adjusting the Kaplan schedule as I had to do. And another thing I did is I took basically 4 weeks off early on in the prep course. I have a day job that's not related to law, so I wanted to concentrate uh, on preparation, so I saved up some vacation time and I took 4 weeks off. Why I think I was well served by taking it early on instead of right before the bar exam, because that gave me a great head start. I was still fresh with my knowledge, I was still very, very motivated to learn, and I poured all of that energy into bar prep. So as I was running out of energy, I had to go back to work, but I still continued my bar prep. It was a little less vigorous, but my foundation was already there. And another thing I do very well is type. My typing speed is, I think, either 80 or 90 words per minute at the perfect pace. I did the test online to do that, to come up with that. And perfect pace means that I do corrections, I correct my typos, and I still type at 80 to 90 words per minute. And I took the bar exam prep very, very seriously. I had a sample bar exam summer before graduation. I knew that if I don't prepare, I would screw up very, very badly. So I put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of work into preparing for both bar exams, Georgia and New York. What I could have done better would have been two things. One, I would have started preparing earlier. And the things I would have prepared earlier would be the subjects I don't know very well. For example, I didn't take a class in family law. Family law is a big subject in Georgia. I did not take a class on wills, trusts, and estates, and it's big in Georgia, and on the UBE. So I would have studied those a little bit ahead of time. And that's basically it. I think that given my constraints, my strengths and weaknesses, I did about as well as I could have. I really poured all I had into those exams. After I was done with Georgia exam, I got into my car and I couldn't even move. I just sat there for about 15 minutes, just feeling that this exam is now behind me and I have other things to focus on. I hope this was helpful to somebody here. I hope this video was helpful to somebody. If you have any specific questions, you're welcome to put them in the comments. Thank you.